and welcome to the next in your series of video lectures. Today we're going to talk about Integrated Marketing Communications, or IMC, the promotional plan for the marketing mix. Remember, the marketing mix has 4 P's: product, price, place, and promotion. Today we're going to talk about promotion. We're not necessarily going to talk a lot about content, but we're going to talk more about tactics and different things like inform, persuade, remind. We're going to talk about the AIDA model. We're going to talk about integrated marketing communications and the communications model. At the end, as always, you're going to have some discussion questions. Please make sure you answer those discussion questions and give them to me on either Tuesday or Thursday after Thanksgiving. Until I see you, I hope you have a blessed Thanksgiving, and I hope you enjoy your time off of school, and I look forward to seeing you either on Tuesday or Thursday, first week of December. As we talked about in the introduction, today's video lecture is all about marketing communications. Marketing communications really, and the role of promotion and marketing communication is really just that. We want to communicate to our customers. We want to make sure that our customers understand what we are, what we have, and what we do. So promotion informs, persuades, and reminds. It brings together potential buyers as well as current buyers, which is potential customers, as well as current customers. Promotional strategy is really the plan of how we optimally communicate with our customers. We're going to talk about our strategy, our promotional strategy, in this particular video, but we're not really going to get into promotional content. You're going to do that more if you take my promotions management class, which is Marketing 325, which is what we talk about. We talk about different content strategies, etc. And then finally, what we want to do with our promotion and the role of promotion is to communicate to our customers our competitive advantage, what we have over our competition, why they should buy from us, why they should do business from us, why we're in business, and what we're trying to do. All of those are the role of communication. So with your promotional mix, remember, your marketing mix consists of the 4 P's: product, price, place, and promotion. So what you've got to do is you've got to take a look at your overall marketing objectives. Everything in marketing, as I said before, starts with who are you going to do what to. So the first thing you got to do is you got to understand who is your target market. And then you take a look at your marketing mix. And in this particular case, we're going to be talking about promotion, or the promotional mix. The promotional mix includes advertising, public relations, sales promotions, personal selling, social media. And social media includes digital media such as YouTube and other digital media content, including search engine optimization with Google and things like that, all going to, again, your target market. So really, if you take a look at this promotional mix model, it's actually upside down. It starts with your target market and then your overall marketing objective, and then moves through the marketing mix. So really, communication is the process by which meanings are transmitted. Interpersonal communication is face-to-face or direct communication. In the promotional mix, mostly that is personal selling. A salesperson talking to a particular customer. It also can be, interpersonal communication can be also asymmetrical, which means that you post a video or to a particular person, or you could send a text to a particular person, or you can send a Snapchat or Instagram or something like that to a particular person. Mass communication, on the other hand, really takes a look at TV, broadcast advertising. It takes a look at newspaper, radio, magazine, billboard, those types of things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to communicate to a large number of people the same message, and that's mass communication. Depending on your target market, depending on your marketing objectives, and depending on what you're trying to do, you will either use mass communication if you want to reach a lot of people with the same message at a pretty low cost, cost per person that is, you would use TV. Even though the initial cost is high, the cost per person is very low because you reach so many people. If you really want to take a look at a targeted market strategy, then you would use some type of communication like YouTube to that target market, email to that target market, or a direct selling force. So the communication process is just this. You have a sender, an encoder. The sender encodes the message. Then they pick the particular channel that they want the message to go on. The receiver decodes the message and then receives the message and provides feedback. So the sender is usually the one that encodes the message. The receiver is usually one that decodes the message. Where things go awry and where the communication process a lot of times breaks down is because of noise. Noise can be any type of communication interruption. It can be multitasking. It can be a personal bias that you have against whoever's sending it. It can be slang. It can be improper use of words. Noise can be anything that really gets in the way of communication. One of the things that the sender tries to do is they try to take away as much noise as they possibly can so that when they encode the message, the receiver decodes the message as best they can. The key is the encoder wants the receiver to decode the way the message was encoded. But because of noise, because of personal biases, because of multitasking, because you're flipping through channels, because you're doing all kinds of things, when the sender is trying to communicate to you, oftentimes that gets in the way of proper decoding, and then your feedback also goes awry. So the sender is the originator. As I talked about, the encoder is encoding the conversation into the sender's ideas. It can be encoded into a broadcast media. It could be encoded into a static type of media like a banner ad or a poster. A magazine ad is static. It can be encoded into a particular radio ad or audio type of broadcast using for Pandora or Spotify or something like that. It can be encoded into a direct mail. It can be encoded into an email. It can be encoded into a video and put on YouTube. So the sender encodes the message in which they're trying to describe. The channel is the vehicle in which the sender or the encoder chooses to put their message on. And of course, noise, anything that interferes. Then of course you've got the receiver, who's the target market, who you're trying to send a message to or who you're trying to communicate to, and they decode or interpret the sender's message the way they see the sender's message. Oftentimes, again, decoding is very, very different than what the sender intended for encoding. And then finally, feedback can be anything such as if you're trending, feedback can be buying the product, feedback can be clicking on a website, feedback can be people talking about it or a particular message going viral on YouTube or on LinkedIn or something like that. Feedback can be calling, picking up the phone or calling. For instance, if you look at a Geico commercial, they're always saying 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Click or call today. Feedback is when someone does that, when someone clicks or calls. Feedback can be something that someone posted on a blog. It can be really anything. But the feedback is the way the sender looks and sees, did they encode, or excuse me, did they decode the message the way that I wanted that message decoded? So tasks of promotion, like I said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to inform, we're trying to persuade, or we're trying to remind. And it all depends, truly, excuse me, It all depends on where we are with our target market, where we are in the product life cycle, what type of product, what type of target market, and what our advertising or our marketing objectives are, whether we want our message to inform, to persuade, or to remind. For instance, if you've got a brand new product, a product that's brand new to the world, or a product that's brand new to a particular company, a new flavor of soda, a new flavor of ice cream, something that's a new style, or a new running shoe, or a new watch, or something like that. Oftentimes, your message is going to inform. We have it out there. It's new. It's something. It's improved. It's different. So you're informing. If your product is really competing with another product, for instance, let's take a look at Bud Light versus Miller Lite, or Pepsi versus Coke, or Nike versus Reebok, or Nike versus Under Armour. Oftentimes you're trying to persuade. You're trying to take a look at your competitive advantage and persuade your particular target market to buy from you. So that would stimulate a purchase or an action, or changing of a purchase or an action. Oftentimes with consumer products, peanut butter, milk, all those types of things, people are trying to persuade our product is better. Oftentimes it's very demonstrative. You're showing that our product is better, etc. And then finally, remind. Oftentimes, if you're the only one out there, if you're the leader, the market leader or something like that, you're reminding people that we're out there, please buy. Or you're reminding people that they're hungry so that they buy a pizza. If in fact you're, say, Domino's or Pizza Hut, which are the two major pizza parlors or the pizza manufacturers by far. Those two have the largest market share by far. So they're going to remind people, you're hungry, you like pizza, go ahead and buy, because oftentimes, or there's a good chance if people pick up the phone to buy pizza, they're going to buy either from Pizza Hut or from Domino's, since Pizza Hut and Domino's have the two largest market shares. So your promotional mix really is going to be your vehicle in which you send it on. Oftentimes, people use multiple promotional mixes, multiple vehicles. Look at Geico. Or look at, better yet, look at Flo from Progressive. Flo is on broadcast media. She's on TV. Flo is on the radio. She does radio spots. Flo is on banner ads when you're going on different websites or different search engines. Flo is in the newspaper. Flo is in magazines. Flo's on YouTube. Flo is everywhere. So in that particular case, they use a true integrated marketing communication approach where they're integrating all of these different vehicles in order to get their message across. So advertising, generally speaking, is what we call your traditional media. Your traditional media is broadcast. Your traditional media is radio. Your traditional media is newspaper, magazine, billboard, direct mail, and poster. That tends to be your traditional media. Public relations is when you're getting hits in the press. You're getting a hit on a news station, or you're getting a hit or an article in the paper about your product, about your business, or about what you've done in the community. Oftentimes, public relation identifies what people have done in a community or the action that they've taken in a community, and people write about it. Sometimes public relations is when a particular restaurant opens up in an area. They'll get an article in the paper about the opening of a restaurant or the opening of an art exhibit or something like that. That's public relations. Sales promotion, we know what that is. That's buy one, get one free, 20% off. Couponing, it stimulates consumer and dealer action. Basically, people use sales promotion because they want, it's the last step before they buy. Oftentimes you see sales promotions in a store where it's buy one, get one free, or you see it in a coupon where people are clipping coupon to get a 20% off, 20 cents off or something like that. So that happens to be a sales promotion. Personal selling, we talked about that. That's a B2B, mostly a B2B tactic, where most of your business to business uses Salesforce or sales representative for personal selling. Many of you marketing students, many of you marketing majors are going to start someplace in personal selling or some type in market development where you're directly communicating to the customer, either on phone or out there on a face-to-face communication. Oftentimes, many marketing people start in sales on the phone and then graduate to outside sales representatives. Content marketing is YouTube videos and other digital media where people are trying to inform people of something. People are trying to inform them of what's going on in society. A lot of content marketing is done in social media, and it's a crucial part of promotion. If you look at the Dove Real Beauty campaign, that's content marketing. REI does a lot of content marketing in the fact that they're teaching people how to stay warm when they're on hikes or how to dress for hikes or something like that. They're not necessarily promoting their product, they're promoting content. They're promoting things like that. And the communication process and the promotional mix is really going to be based on, again, your target market and what you're trying to do. So here's the characteristics of the promotional, or the elements in the promotional mix that I just talked about: advertising, public relations, sales promotion, personal selling, and social media. This is a really good chart for you to study, for you to look at. It talks about the pluses and minuses and really the characteristics of each one of the promotional mix. So now we're going to look at more towards content. Content is really about the message in which someone is encoding. There's the AIDA model, which is a model that stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. And each one of those are more prevalent for a particular promotional mix than the other. Attention, if someone doesn't get your attention, then they can't sell something. Interest is really just simple awareness. Desire is action inducing or having people want something. And then finally, action is just that, taking action. For the AIDA, if you take a look here, attention, interest, desire, and action. Advertising really drives more attention and interest. Public relations is really attention and interest and some action. Not really effective in the action. It's just really informing. Sales promotion is all about desire and action. Personal selling is all about interest, desire, and action. And then social media really is about attention and interest. So depending on, again, where you are in the promotional mix, what you're trying to do, and those types of things, you would either use advertising, public relations, sales promotional, personal selling, or what have you. So we talked a little bit about integrated marketing communication in previous slides. The integrated marketing communication means really integrating all the different vehicles into one particular message. If you take a look at Iconic Flow, or if you take a look at the iconic little lizard with Gecko or Geico, I guess it is a gecko for Geico. If you take a look at those types of things, sorry about that. If you take a look at Geico, or if you take a look at Bud Light, if you take a look at some of those huge consumer products, and sorry about that, the tape didn't quite make it there. Anyways, you take a look, they are in all types of vehicles. They are on broadcast, they're on radio, they're in magazines, they're on social media, they're on YouTube, all the types of things. So IMC popularity has really grown because of the proliferation of many media choices, plus the fact that depending on your target market, they're going to more gravitate toward different media. For instance, generally speaking, boomers and late Xers will gravitate towards more TV, whereas young Xers, millennials, and Zs tend to gravitate towards more of the social media and that type of thing. So factors of choosing the promotional mix, really the number one factor for choosing the promotional mix is your target market. I know it's number 3 here, but the book's wrong. Everything in marketing starts with who are you going to do what to. Advertising is no different. The key thing is your target market. Then you want to take a look at what is the nature of your product and what are you in the stage of the product life cycle. If you're beginning, you're going to do a lot of informing and you're going to try to create interest. If you are competing with somebody else, you're going to try to create desire or action. And again, inform, persuade, or remind, depending on where you're going to be. So it also depends on the type of buying decision. If it's a very complex buying decision, the available funds you have. Again, broadcast media is very inexpensive on a per person basis, but it's very high initial cost. For instance, the Super Bowl advertising. Super Bowl advertising costs $5.5 million for 30 seconds commercial, right? $5.5 million. But they're hitting 110 million people. So they're hitting everybody for a nickel. So it's, it's very, very inexpensive on a cost per person, but it's very expensive initial cost. Plus you've got the production costs and things like that. So the nature of the product, like I said, consumer products tend to have more mass communications because more people use them. Sodas, Pepsi, and Coke and that type of thing tend to do a lot of mass communication because they've got a huge target market and there's so many users of it. Whereas if you've got a very complex product, generally speaking, you're going to do more personal selling or something like that. Stages in the life cycle. Again, if you are at the beginning, you're going to want to inform and get it out to as many people, which would mean that you're going to try to broadcast it out. If you're later in the life cycle, you're going to try to persuade people to switch. So that might be more personal selling. It might be more one-on-one communication. So depending on where you are in the life cycle, you're going to either inform, persuade, or remind. And there we have it. So this is another good chart that you might want to think about taking a look at. The type of buying decision. Routine consumer decisions, you're going to broadcast. Complex consumer decisions, you're going to use personal selling or demonstration. If it's a very simple purchase where there is a lot of parity in products, you're going to use a lot of sales promotion. Buy one, get one free to try to get people to switch, or couponing or something like that. So it all depends on what we're going to do. Obviously, if it's a very complex buying decision like buying a house, usually you're going to go through a real estate broker who is going to sell you on the house. If it's something like insurance, generally speaking, you're reminded that you need insurance, but oftentimes you're going to talk to your insurance agent and they're going to sell you on it because it's more complex. But if it's a Budweiser, it's basically going to be using promotions like percentages off, or having a promotion with the Super Bowl or something like that, and that type of thing. Available funds, again, obviously social media is much, much cheaper. Same thing with YouTube and that type of thing. Broadcast media is very much more expensive, but again, all depending on what you're trying to do. Oftentimes, if it's a huge consumer product like Coke, Pepsi, beer, something like that, they just drive in the cost of the product, cost of advertising, because they know they have to advertise all the time. So they just drive that into cost of product, and their cost per contact, even though it might be high beginning cost, initial cost, is very low on a cost per contact basis. Then finally, we want to talk about push versus pull strategy. This is a very important marketing strategy, so I'm going to take a little bit of time and explain this to you. Push strategy means that a manufacturer pushes it into a distributor or a retailer and then lets the retailer sell it to the customer. Pull strategy is when the manufacturer goes right to the consumer and advertises the consumer so that the consumer goes to their distributor or retail outlet and asks for the product. Let's take beer for an example. Beer, let's say I have Ron's beer. It's one of the best beers in the world, right? So I can do one of two things. I could involve a push strategy, and I could take my beer and I could go to the different distributors, Lake Beverage, Wright Beverage, the different distributors out there, and give them an incentive to sell my beer to the retailer or to the restaurant. And they would sell the beer to the retailer or the restaurant, and then the retailer or the restaurant would sell the beer to the consumer. That's a push strategy. The other thing I could do is I could advertise to the consumers and say, go into your local beverage store, go into your local restaurant and ask for Ron's beer. That way, consumers then go into the restaurant, they go into a retailer, they say, I want Ron's beer. The retailer goes to the distributor, and then the distributor goes to me. So I can either pull it through the distribution channel by going right to the consumer, and then they would ask for it in the restaurant or the retailer, or I could push it into a distributor and give them incentives to sell it to a restaurant and a retailer, and give the restaurant or the retailer incentives to push it to consumers. One way or the other, you're going to use a different marketing mix based on whether it's push or pull. Let me give you another example. At Bausch & Lomb. Bausch & Lomb, when I was a sales rep at Bausch & Lomb, we employed a push strategy. What we did was all of our sales reps went to the doctor or the practitioner. We told them how great our contact lenses were, and we asked them to fit our contact lenses on their patients. So when the patients came in, the doctor would fit these contact lenses on the patients. We would give doctors incentives to do that. That's a push strategy. Johnson & Johnson was our competitor. They advertised to the consumer and said, go to your eye care professional and ask for Johnson & Johnson contact lenses. They employed a pull strategy. The long and the short of it is Johnson & Johnson won. They had much more of a, their pull strategy was much more effective than Bausch & Lomb's push strategy. So this concludes the video lecture. Here's your discussion questions. Please turn these discussion questions in to me on the Tuesday or the Thursday after Thanksgiving, depending on what class you're in. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video lecture. I hope you have a blessed Thanksgiving and a wonderful time with your family or whoever you're going to spend it with. And I look forward to seeing you after Thanksgiving.